I found him.
Welcome to NocBro Nation.
Welcome back, guys. I'm Jarrell.
And I'm Josh. And today we're here to review
The emotional
Episode 5 of The Walking Dead Season 9, What Comes After, Rick Grimes' final episode.
That's right, guys. So we know that this review comes 2 days after the show aired. So if you still have not seen it, spoilers are ahead. Stop now, watch it, and come back. We will say right now that we were correct. Rick Grimes survives.
Yep.
And Jadis is the one who helps him. And we had this call back on an old Jadis video that we did a while back.
Yeah,
a while back, and continued through that because we believed in our hearts that they would not kill him off. Plus, when they mentioned there's going to be maybe movies involved, we're like, yeah, they're gonna keep him around a while.
Yeah.
But it is confirmed he is done with the show, the TV series. Stay tuned for our other video talking about the expanded universe from Scott Gimple's announcements from Talking Dead. But
this was probably my favorite episode of the entire series. Honestly, it blew it away. I
had the tissues and I used them.
The emotion, the callbacks,
the narrative, the complete narrative of the story was amazing. It was great. So pretty much all about Rick wanting to, searching for his family. He doesn't realize it until the end of what family really means. So we're just going to break down, just go the biggest sections of the episode. So basically,
let's start off with Jadis. So she is waiting for the helicopter. She's waiting to be picked up, I'm assuming, to...
Yep.
Yeah.
She's waiting to leave. So she rolls up in the RV, which was previously driven by Heath and in the season 7. So she had that stored at the junkyard, which I saw the picture and I never knew it was there. So the helicopter crew is asking for status. Does she have an A? She says yes. And that she's waiting to be picked up. And that was pretty much part 1, because she does come in later for the ending, of course.
Yep.
But it was interesting that, she's not too far away from the junkyard, but she's like, I got to get out of here.
Yep.
That's the reason that she told Father Gabriel, if you want to move fast, you be alone. If you want to go far, go together. But she wants
honestly,
to go fast.
There wasn't much there because she obviously plays a bigger role later on in the episode. But we now move to Alexandria, and Michonne, Maggie has arrived in Alexandria, and immediately there is confrontation because who's waiting for welcome? Maggie. As she approaches Negan's cell, that is Michonne.
And excuse me, it was really great because Michonne eventually lets Maggie in, but at first she was resistant. She's like, "You're not going to get in. Glenn would not want this. Your father would not want this." But I love Maggie was like, "I don't know what Glenn would want
because I don't have him.
I didn't have a chance to say goodbye.
Yeah,
like I have no idea."
And she immediately goes after pulls the Rick card. If that were Rick and you lost Rick, how do you think you'd feel? And
plus she said he's like, if that happened, Negan would have been dead a long time ago.
Yeah.
She's like, we both know that because she knows how Michonne would react to something like that, like Rick being killed and her having to raise, not just Judith or just any child really. Yeah, she played Michonne. I mean, you could see it in Michonne too. She was struggling with it. She was like, okay, yes, okay, no, okay, yes, okay, no.
And what does she do in the end? She lets him go.
She gives her the keys. And I love because of the episode was called What Comes After. She asked Maggie, so are you good with what comes after if you go and kill Negan? Maggie's like, yep, I'm ready to roll. So we get the meeting of a lifetime. And this went far beyond the way I thought it was going to go.
Him and I were excited because as this meeting went on, let's first right out the gate. Maggie walks in and Negan is gloating.
Just sitting on the bed, but he's so happy that she's there.
Yeah, and he's gloating. Like,
he's like, took long enough.
He references Glenn. He says, I'm so happy that I bashed his brains in. Even goes as far as, once he's enticing her. And says, I don't even remember his name. What's his name again? He's basically playing with her. And I was pissed off at first.
It was
because it's not the way that I wanted it to go, but it made sense.
It made sense in the end because Negan is basically telling, kind of like saying, look, it took you this long to come here. What were you doing over the last year and a half? Building up your courage? Like, he kind of said to her, I knew it would be you, and I want it to be you because of what I did to you. And the reason that he was kept antagonizing her, he's like, seeing me bash her husband's skull in, seeing his beautiful brains, his eye popping out. And you see the rage in Maggie's, you see the rage and the hurt in her eyes, but it's like she doesn't know, she's still there, like wants to kill him, but he's kind of saying, I did this. She
tells him to kneel.
When everyone else was just sitting there and watching. You know what I mean? Like, she tells him to kneel, keeps telling him to come into the light, and that's when he starts getting really mad, like, really? I'm here on my knees, like, come on in. Just kill me.
I thought she was saying that at first because she was afraid he had something.
I think she wanted to really see his face before she killed him.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
And once he got out of the cell and
she opens the door, and I thought at first, I was like, is he messing? Because he starts crying immediately, saying, "Kill me, kill me!" And then she opens the cell, and I thought, like, oh God, I wonder if he's just playing with her, and he's gonna, not that he has an object in there, he could have easily overpowered her.
He was being legit. He wanted to die. Because he wanted to rejoin his ex and his late wife, Lucille.
And this is a straight callback to
the comics.
Issue 174.
174, yes.
He did the same thing.
And
begging for his life.
Maggie's
or not begging
down
on
him.
Not begging for his life, but begging to kill for him to kill.
Basically looking at this pathetic man, and like the comic, chooses not to kill him.
Right.
And she says to Negan, I came here for Negan.
I can't remember exactly, but basically, like, you're more worse off than death.
Yeah, exactly. I came here for Negan. I came here to kill Negan, but seeing you like this, essentially, in layman's terms, is better than killing you.
Right.
It is essentially what she was getting at.
She's basically saying, like, you're pretty much dead right now than me just killing you. So no, get back in your cell. And he does. Like, he crawls back in, but the emotion from Negan, it was kind of like, we're reading it in the comic book, and it's the same thing. You see the hurt in his eyes, like, I want to be with my wife, I want to be with Lucille, just freaking do it. He's like, he's like, I can't live like this anymore. He's like, he even admitted he's been trying to kill himself, and he can't do it. Yeah. Like the last episode when he was banging his head, I figure he was doing that.
Well, that and the hunger strike.
Right. I was thinking he was doing that to somebody would come into his cell so he could break out. No, he was trying to kill himself, and he can't.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a great moment for Negan, but also a great moment for Maggie, right to the comic books, which was great. So she walks outside, and, Michonne, she hands back the keys, she locks it up. Michonne knows she didn't do it. And then they're immediately alerted about, the situation that happened on with the camp.
Yeah, the camp and the gunfire, yeah.
Yeah, so now we get into the good stuff with our good old boy Rick Grimes. We get into our first hallucination. There are actually 5 of them. The first one was right at the beginning of the episode. He's in the hospital room looking over his self in the hospital.
Episode
when he was
1, Rick Grimes.
Yeah. We see the crazy crows on the outside, which turned into helicopters.
Which, if by that point
you did
not realize that he was going to be picked up by a helicopter, I do not know what is wrong with you.
There have been, like we said, there's been so much of this helicopter in it. They're in the poster. They're in the opening credits. I mean, we couldn't have just been like, oh, Jadis was just going to leave in the helicopter and that's it. No. Heck no. They've been pushing this story forever.
Yeah, you knew.
But I love it. And, there's we hear Morgan's voice. We hear, what is your wound? And that is Morgan's voice.
When I kept hearing that, because it was said numerous times throughout his hallucinations, is what is your wound? It's almost like that started off the hallucination is, what is your wound? I thought that would essentially be him awakening to someone asking, how did you get your wound?
Right.
But didn't turn out like that.
Didn't turn out that way. He's telling himself to wake up, and his self tells him to wake up, asshole. And he wakes up, and that's where he pulls himself off that rebar.
This was brutal. I didn't even notice the rebar above him in the previous episode.
Yeah, it was there.
But he takes his belt off. First, he tries to reach it. And can barely
reach it. But that's the thing. That's what people are probably tearing it apart. Is you have to think of the angle as well. Like, would he have been able to reach his hands way up there because of the angle and do it? Who knows? We're not getting into it. He did. It's regret.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that.
Anyway, but it was brutal. Like, yeah, he put his belt up there and just pulled himself off.
But that last pull off where it
came out,
where it unhinges from his body.
There's the bleeding.
Yeah, brutal.
There's the bleed out right there, because he's bleeding profusely right now, but it's still contained because that object is in there. But once it comes out, it comes a free throw. So he gets up. He leads the walkers away in the other direction.
Gets on the horse that almost kicks him off again.
That's the only thing there. He's got to do it.
I know, but that thing, like, did you see it? It almost literally kicked him off of it again.
It did almost do it again. Yeah, I would have been so mad if it did. We get the second hallucination. I think it was after commercial break that we see him riding into Atlanta. The walkers are behind him, and we see a familiar face sitting in a cop car. And this was a great hallucination. This was Shane.
Awesome. So take aside the conversation. Rick Grimes is not his old, season 1 Rick Grimes.
It is him
injured.
Injured. Right.
And as he grabs a fry, he's got the bloody hand.
Blood on him. Yeah. It was great is like, because Rick didn't recognize it at first. And then Shane's like, you know what this is. He's like, oh, this was the guys we were chasing, right? And he was like, yeah, it was called in as 2 suspects.
And then he was like, there was a third.
But
I love how he said it kind of under his breath.
Right.
Like, they both knew the situation. But here they are years later.
Even Shane said, that's the one that changed everything, didn't it? And this conversation was just, it was great. It was typical Shane.
Yeah, it was
being a prick.
I was so happy that this conversation happened. This was one that if Shane were still alive, you would want to happen. And this was Shane, saying, that's my baby, right? Kind of giving him shade, throwing shade at him.
Because Rick's like, I'm trying to find my family. And
he's like, what, my family?
Yeah, he's like, well, I'm thinking it's my family. You know what I mean? Like, how's my little girl doing? But
good thing she didn't get my nose.
Exactly.
Or my ears.
Yeah, so Shane is trying to tell Rick, like, Shane wants to take credit for Rick being an asshole. And he says he always knew his rage was inside of him. He references biting that dude's throat when the dude was attacking Carl. He mentions Gareth. He
mentions the red machete.
He references the red machete. He's like, dude, you need to bring that back because that's the only way you're going to get through this. But Rick's like, no, that's not how it's going to go down. He even tries to apologize to Shane.
Well, I don't think he says, no, that's not how it's going to go down.
Not how it's going to go down. I think he's just denying
he doesn't.
He's saying
really think that that's going to get him through it.
Exactly. He knows that he has the rage, but he doesn't think rage is going to push him
the
through
option right now. Because that would be Shane's way.
Exactly.
And he's not, he's almost the polar opposite, right?
Yeah.
But I loved the moment where he apologized to Shane, and Shane was pretty much like, don't forget about it.
Forget it. Don't even worry about it.
It had to happen, I think, is what he said at one point.
Right. It had to happen. He mentioned about the field, like, yeah, us two alone, and you did it. He's like, kind of like, you did what you had to do, man. And Rick said it too. He was like, I had to do it. It had to be me. And Shane's like, no, it has to be me. You know what I mean? It's just like, I loved it. It was so cool. And then when Rick awakens, it's because Shane says, you know what, Rick? He lunges at him, wake up! And then that's where we get the moment where the walker is right in his face. Because Rick goes to a house. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, Rick goes to a house to rest, and that's when he passes out and has that second hallucination. So
yeah,
he escapes the house. He's on the horse and he slouches over, and we get our third hallucination, which was I immediately started tearing up.
This was the tear-jerking moment.
When you saw the farm, you knew we were going to see Herschel and Scott Wilson's final performance, which was heartbreaking. It was so heartbreaking. Like, he turns and says, "Hi, Rick." Like,
yeah, in that calm Southern voice.
Just come take a look.
What got me, what made me kind of start shedding a tear is the moment where Rick literally apologizes to Herschel about everything, about Glenn, about Maggie, about Beth,
about his own death.
Yeah, about what happened to him. Like, he's shouldering that burden, and he's been shouldering it since it happened. And here's his moment to tell Herschel that, and it was a
powerful.
Beautiful moment, powerful moment,
gorgeous. But I love that when Herschel was like, "Look, don't worry about Maggie. She's strong, and she's only going to get stronger. She's going to be fine. It's like you just need to worry about, just don't worry so much about trying to do everything for everyone else, because everyone basically can take care of themselves. You guys are working together. You guys are all a family." And Rick even says, "I'm tired.
I have to do all." Or he says this one line that I thought was going to be towards Michonne, and that is, "I think the end is near."
He said that, but I'm
feeling the end is near.
He says that, but I think he says that when he's with Sasha. But what he says was, maybe I can look for my family here.
That's right. Yes.
Like saying, I'll just die and look for him here. And Herschel's like, no, that's not where you need to be right now.
You need to wake up.
You need to wake up. And he puts his hand on his heart, like almost like resuscitating him. And he gets a jolt, and Rick wakes back up again on his horse. And then he's only up for like a minute. And then he passes right back out on his horse. And then we get into the fourth hallucination, which is one of the greatest ones.
Yes, this was, as you saw in our previous video, this was the call-out, shout-out, Easter egg to the Chromium 100, issue 100 of the Walking Dead comic book.
Yeah, he's going through the hospital, makes it to the doors where before it said, "Don't open, walk dead inside." But this time the "don't" is crossed out, meaning open this door. He does, and he is in a field of just the dead people.
Or like a mountain
of death. And you see Beth, you see Daryl, you see Carol, you see Maggie. Jesus. And we get Sasha. Now, I was very confused as to why they chose Sasha, but it was perfect. I liked it.
I was too.
A lot.
I was too. I much would have rather had I think Lori would have fit perfect there.
That would have been tough. I remember you mentioned it to where it'd be hard to see Lori because he's in love with Michonne. Yeah, it'd be hard, but it would have been good too. But I loved it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, maybe that wasn't the moment for Lori, because Lori is more like a touching, loving moment, and this was more like it was still a touching moment, but when you're standing over thousands of bodies,
right? Yeah, it was tough, but basically the conversation between him and Sasha was telling her that, she died because she did her part. You did your part as well, but everyone draws strength from each other. They draw strength from everyone. And she does give the first line that says, "We don't die." This is also where Rick says he feels like things are ending, and she's like, "But certain things do end, but it doesn't mean to end all for everything." The pep talk was just so great, just kind of basically telling him, you're not going to find your family because they're not lost.
Yeah, I love that part. She says, "You are not lost. Your family is not lost. Now wake up."
Right. You're not going to find them here because they're not lost. And it was great.
It makes sense really too. He is dying.
Right.
He is slowly dying, and he feels it. He knows it. His mind knows it. His body knows it. And that's his mind wanting to give up. Mm-hmm. And these figures, these hallucinations are telling him not to give up and to keep fighting. And that's Rick's mentality, is to keep fighting.
He's a fighter. So he does wake up. He's now back at the camp. He arrived at the camp. There are some people, some saviors and some kingdom people that we saw that have turned. So he's fighting them. And then as he's leading the walkers towards the bridge, he sees the bridge and he's like, "All right, I think this is the only way we can do this, is lead them across, let them fall." So this is the fifth hallucination, which
this one pissed me off.
I did not like. So he's walking across the bridge, right? And we get to that scene where he's kneeling down, he looks behind him, and we hear Rick, which is Daryl's voice, and everyone comes running, right?
Michonne,
Daryl, everybody, right? So they kill all the walkers, and he's sitting there kneeling, talking to Michonne. That whole sequence was not real.
Yep.
And even Rick figured it out. He's like, "This isn't real," But the pep talk between him and Michonne was great, telling him why she fell in love with him, because he's a fighter.
Yeah,
you never give up, and we don't die. And that's when he kind of finally realizes, he's like, "I found my family." He's like, "I found you." You know?
No.
It was
because she tells him to wake up.
Yeah. She tells him to wake up. And then he wakes up and he's right by the bridge, but he gets the idea to go. So he starts leading them.
Realizing that it is not breaking the bridge. It is not working.
Their construction is done very well.
More importantly, they're making their way closer across the bridge and to him.
Yeah.
And he's out of energy. He can't do it anymore. And lo and behold, arrows shoot. And he gets saved by Daryl, who is in the embankment below the bridge, shooting from that view, from that vantage point.
Because he's a badass. And everyone
that's
else,
where they all grew. That's where they all
initially.
Yeah. Like they're seeing him up above. They can't do anything about it. They can't get there.
So they're on he is to their right, and so they have to go all the way around. So they're wondering what is he doing? He's injured, and I think even Daryl says, well, he's leading them across the bridge, so the bridge will cave in.
And furthermore, so Rick is telling them to stop
because they see them running. What they want to do is try to fire their guns to get them turn around, but Rick's like, no, there's too many. And then he says, don't do that for me.
Don't do that for me. Yeah.
Don't do it for me. Freaking love it. So he's waving his bloody hand, telling them no. One of the walkers knocks over a case of dynamite, and right then I was like, oh, he's going to shoot it.
Now, I initially thought that he was going to run in towards the dynamite.
No, there was a
grab it and be engulfed in walkers.
Oh, no.
And that's when I actually started believing that, okay, they're going to kill him off.
Well, I started thinking that they're going to kill him off because there was a still shot of just showing him with his bloody hand with the gun. So I was like, I put two and two together. I was like, oh, he's going to shoot it. And he'll probably, because he's standing fairly close, the flames, or he'll get thrown back hard enough to where he'll just die.
Yeah.
And I love, Michonne is desperately trying to get there. You see the worried look in her face. And
so they are flanking the walkers.
Yeah,
so
they're trying to flank
Maggie, Michonne, and Carol, I believe it is, are making their way towards the back half of the herd. Well,
of the bridge anyway. Yeah,
it's huge.
It's huge, massive, thousands.
I initially thought from the fourth hallucination that okay, this herd isn't that big. They can take him out. No, that's not true. It would have been a death mission for them.
It would have been So he slowly raises his hand, aiming at the dynamite, and you hear Michonne scream Rick, and he says, I found him. Boom. Explodes. And the next scene, I just watched it recently. It still makes me cry when you see Daryl's face.
Yeah. Daryl and Michonne.
Especially Michonne, but Daryl, you see that look where he is just...
that whimpered.
Dead. He's done.
Yeah.
They had their differences. They came together a little bit during when they were down in that pit, but he knows what he just lost.
Mm-hmm.
He knows, but he just witnessed. After telling Rick, "I'd die for you," and so would everyone else. Seeing him sacrifice himself for them, that right there, losing his best friend, but that right there is that's what really took it in.
Yeah,
so.
There's no words that can explain how he, as in the character, is feeling losing his brother.
You can see him as he's walking off, just wobbling, stumbling.
I thought he was going to fall too.
Yeah. And then you see the shot of Michonne and Carol and Maggie having to hold her back, and even
screaming.
Even Melissa McBride said in The Talking Dead they really had to hold her back because. As Denai was acting, she's pretty strong. So they were we really had to hold her back.
So, Now, this cut to commercial.
It went black, yeah.
I immediately started thinking, okay, they killed him off.
They're going to do
it. They killed him off. Yeah. And then it was AMC tweeting...
8 more minutes.
Keep watching. Yep. #trust us.
Yeah, 8 more minutes.
That right there. Yeah. I'm like, yep, okay, he's going to live.
They're changing it. So Jada's part 2... she is not too far away. She sees the smoke of where the explosion was. Guess what's rolling in? Helicopters rolling in, right? And then she's looking at all the walkers that were falling in on fire. That was so sick. But as they were coming down the river, she sees somebody. Lo and behold, it's Rick. He's alive because you see him rolling over. But the very big interesting part of this is that she tells the helicopter pilot that she has a B.
He's wounded. He's strong. But she has a B.
She never had an A.
She never had an A.
She never did.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. We still don't know what A and B stand for, but we're assuming maybe because Rick was injured, he's now a B, but he could become an A because he's strong.
We're not going to find out this season.
Anyway, yeah. So, but she tells the helicopter pilot that, I'm trying to save a friend because he saved me. I'm not tricked, because she actually, the helicopter guy was like, I told you there'd be consequences if you were going to play these games, and she's like, I'm not tricking you anymore.
Yeah, I think she initially said I was going to,
because she wanted to get out of it. She wanted to leave,
and now I'm not. I need to save him, and what
she
does? She saves him, and we cut to a scene of him laying in the
opening his eyes
to Jadis, saying, "You're gonna make it.
They're gonna save you.
I'm gonna save you."
And we get this crazy music, this happy music.
I was like, come on!
I didn't like the music at all.
Yeah, I'm like, that's cheesy.
So then you get this cheesy music. You see them flying away wherever they're going, and we will not be seeing Rick Grimes again in the TV series. And I really don't know if we're going to see Jadis in the TV series anymore. Angela Kang did also confirm that Jadis did trade Heath. So maybe Heath and Rick will reunite in the movies that they're planning, but stay tuned for our video for that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I predicted that as well. Initially I said that Jadis was going to die. That she wasn't going to
sacrifice herself,
or that the helicopter people were going to kill her.
Yeah.
But then you and I were talking offline, and I chatted to you. I'm like, okay, Jadis has to go, because there's no way that Jadis can stay around having taken Rick away, and everyone just,
where did he go?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I don't know.
Just
far away.
Constant, it just wouldn't work in the show.
It wouldn't work.
So
so Rick survives. Hashtag Rick Grimes survives.
Yeah.
So then what was really crazy about this is like, we get the immediate time jump.
Yes,
and
immediately.
It's confirmed on Talking Dead.
It's 6 years?
6 years.
6 years. A 6 year time jump. That is insane.
But we immediately get jumped into Magna's group. So we get Magna, Yumiko, Connie, Kelly, and Luke, who are all characters from the comic book, minus Kelly was a male in the comics.
Did you see that they had the truck that they were sitting on top of?
Yeah. So,
container truck,
container truck.
So they're in peril. They're being surrounded by walkers, and it's right before their last final moments where they're going to start fighting them, and gunfire goes off.
Awesome, perfect gunfire shots.
Yeah,
and now you hear a little girl's voice saying, "You're clear."
She shoots enough to where it breaks the walkers surrounding them, gets them a moment where they can run out and into the woods where she is at. And then
she asks, you guys have names? And Magna says all their names, and she asks, who are you? And
picks up a hat.
Says,
I'm Judith.
She picks up a hat. The freaking hat.
I'm Judith Grimes.
Judith Grimes, and she's got a plaid shirt. She has a mini katana, and I think that's Rick's gun. It's Rick's gun. Yeah. So the girl is. I mean, what a way to introduce a character. And it's freaking Judith Grimes.
Yeah. What a way to introduce her. And,
legit.
And
guys, this episode was, like we said before, they were promoting this so much that there's no way they're going to kill him. There's no way we're going to tune into episode 5 that you guys have been promoting Rick Grimes' final episodes, and we're just all going to watch him die.
Well, and I said from the beginning that I was excited for this because I think that they're going to do it right, and I think they absolutely did it right. They did the right thing, and of course it makes sense because they're going to make a lot more money.
They're doing some other stuff, so. I know a lot of people didn't want to see an open-ended like that. It is also confirmed that this was the last episode for Maggie as well. We may get something next episode. They may mention something. I'm thinking it's probably going to be with Georgie.
Yep.
But this was the last episode for Lauren Cohen and Maggie until hopefully she returns later down the line. So, so great. So great, this episode. I loved it.
I absolutely loved it.
Can't believe it.
I'm going to watch it again and soak it all in because the acting was amazing. The drama, just the flashbacks, everything.
The narrative was great. It was Rick finally coming to realizing that his family is everyone. Everyone draws strength from everyone. It's not just
if I could change one thing about that episode, I would have loved to see a Carl Grimes hallucination or flashback.
So yeah, I don't think they probably thought about doing Carl, but I think to the viewers that would have been not really overkill, that it just would have been way too emotional. And I think early on we would have been like, okay, if he's seeing Carl, then yeah, he's probably gonna die. But it would have been cool. It would have been interesting to see what they would have had Carl say. Like, okay, Dad, you did it. You started the future. That we want.
Did he though?
He tried. He tried. I mean, it would have been fine, but the saviors didn't fall in line. But
yeah.
Anyway,
I wish there was a little bit more Negan and Rick leading up to this episode, though. But I think that it's perfectly. It fits, right? I think that Michonne is kind of taking more of Rick's comic book character now that Rick's gone.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting conversation. Interesting to see, Negan's reaction to hearing that Rick's gone.
Well, I'm assuming we'll probably get that in some form or another. He might talk about it.
Yeah. It's been 6 years. So
but no, we won't get the initial reaction.
We won't get the initial reaction, but things will come up. So let us know your thoughts, guys. This amazing last episode of Andrew Lincoln and Rick Grimes. Were you happy of it being open-ended, that he is alive or dead? Well, he is alive, actually, because they're doing other things with him. Or were you expecting him to die, and is that the way that you guys wanted it to be seen? So let us know your thoughts. We definitely enjoyed it. Stay tuned for also the information from Scott Gimple about the announcements of the Walking Dead universe. That'll be coming up shortly as well. So just let us know your thoughts, because we're going to watch it like 10 more times.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know. Follow us at NocBro Nation on Facebook and Twitter. Give the video a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. I'm Josh.
I'm Jarrell. We're NocBro Nation.
We're out.